Have you ever had a female that you thought was pregnant and as it turns out she wasn't? That's a phantom pregnancy. As well as, have you ever had a female come into heat and then all of a sudden other females that you may have also come into heat? Today we're going to be talking about phantom pregnancies and heat cycles that are in sync. Stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this. What's going on, Bully fam? It's your boy, the educator, the scientist, Mr. Double Muscle Line Bulls, bringing you another episode of Breeders' Hacks. So we were talking, have a little bit of a conversation, and I figured I'd go ahead and share with you guys what my thoughts were when it comes to phantom pregnancies, and then the second half of it being heat cycles that are in sync. What causes that? What people ask me all the time, what causes the disease of phantom pregnancies, things like that. So first of all, let's just start with like what a phantom pregnancy is, right? And then we'll get onto the heat cycle thing. A phantom pregnancy is when a female dog goes through all the symptoms of being pregnant, right? So she'll maybe produce milk, start acting, as if she's pregnant, maybe finicky with food, maybe even having a little bit of morning sickness. But all the signs, the visual signs that she may be pregnant, even her belly may get a little bit bigger. Her nipples may look a little bit funny, things like that. So because there is such things as phantom pregnancies, the dog can appear pregnant and be even producing milk, and she's not pregnant. There could be absolutely no puppies inside of her. And I've dealt with this before. So that's how I know. The key thing with that is that's why we do either an ultrasound, a relaxin test, an x-ray. We do some sort of way to confirm that she's actually pregnant with puppies. Now, this isn't to confuse her with actually being pregnant and absorbing puppies, which is another thing I'll cover and talk about. But no, we're talking about that she thinks she's pregnant, she's acting like she's pregnant, but she's not pregnant, which is a phantom pregnancy. So the thing with that is you need to be mindful of is, like I said, if you don't have a confirmation, I know of people who have had phantom pregnancies, they go to do the C-section, there's no puppies inside of her. They did a C-section for no reason. So that's something you want to be mindful of. That's why it's so important to get a confirmation when it comes to doing your C-sections. But anyway, right? So the phantom pregnancy. That's the symptoms, and that's what the phantom pregnancy is. Now, how this correlates to other females coming into heat and things like that, that's the second part, right? So the second part now is the heat cycles. Why is it that you'll have one female that comes into heat and all of a sudden the rest of the females will all of a sudden start coming into heat as well if you have, a few dogs, more than one dog, more than one female. So that's an odd phenomenon that breeders have known for forever when it comes to having more than one female. They'll all bring each other into heat, essentially. So I had always wondered why that was, why the dogs had phantom pregnancies and why their heat cycles would be synced and things like that. And I'm really quoting Margaret Castle. She explained it really to me the best. She's the head of engineering and genetics and reproduction over at the University of Pennsylvania, where they're like the state of the art when it comes to reproduction with dogs. And she explained that basically these dogs, it comes from the phantom pregnancies and the heat cycles being synced are two similar things. It's the same thing that causes both of them. And phantom pregnancies isn't a disease. It's not something that theoretically you can turn around and try to cure or treat or anything like that, because this all comes from wolves. This comes from the dogs when they were wolves. So what would happen is there would only be one alpha female that would be allowed to actually have offspring. So the other females, their heat cycles would be in sync, and they would bear the symptoms of being pregnant, but not actually being pregnant because they couldn't be pregnant. It would only be the alpha female. And what they would kind of be like the midwives or something like that. So that if the alpha female couldn't supply enough milk for those puppies, that there was other females that were producing milk that the puppies could also feed off of. So that's where that comes into play, which, I mean, when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So that's what she was explaining, and I was like, wow. Then I started making these mental connections and things like that. So that's essentially what would happen, is that these other females, their heats would be in sync, right? Their heats would be in sync with the alpha female. And not only that, but then they would go through these phantom pregnancies so that then their bodies could produce milk for the offspring that the alpha female had. So I thought that was really cool. I thought that was really interesting, because I went through this whole rabbit hole of trying to figure out, how do we stop and how do we prevent this disease of phantom pregnancies? And then I found out it's not a disease. So just a little fun fact for the day, something to be mindful of. With these phantom pregnancies, it does happen. It's not something that happens it's not super common, but it does happen. And that's really where it comes from. You know, there is hormone therapies and things like that, you know, the PG 600s and the heat shots that I've talked about and things like that, that can help get your females into the right place and position so that you can breed them. But yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a disease, so don't be concerned if you see your female producing a little bit of milk. The only thing you just need to be mindful of is just make sure she don't get mastitis or something like that by the milk being in her ducts, because there's no milk, no puppies to drain it. But other than that, you know, that's pretty much what I learned, and I'm telling you this from a reproductive specialist. This was exactly what she relayed to me, so I'm just sharing it with you guys, you know. Phantom pregnancies is not a disease. It's something that comes from wolves. And same thing with the heat cycles, with multiple females all being intertwined and coming into heat at the same time. That's something that also dates back as wolves. It's not a disease. It's not something that, you know, we can really change or intervene, us being the breeders. It's just something to be mindful of, something that you know, and something you now you know the origin of where it comes from. As a breeder, knowing where certain characteristics and traits, where they come from. So, you know, just food for thought. I thought this was kind of cool, you know. When I learned it, I thought it was pretty cool and interesting. So I hope this information was helpful. I hope it was useful. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of Breeders Hacks.